Hello, guys. This is your boy Motoba from Motoba Insurance College. Thank you for joining. This is my class one, and in class one, we talk about the fundamentals of insurance, which is in section one. Guys, without waste of time, this is the introduction to insurance. If you're there, please follow up to the end of it. In the introduction, we are going to understand that this insurance forms part of a larger financial market with several financial products to suit needs and demands of stakeholders, in which this chapter talks about the key terms, historical developments, the functions of insurance, and then the importance of insurance, in which it to the individuals, it to business entity, it to the economy. If you're there, guys, let's kick up with the first one, that is the key terms. In the key terms, we talk about insurance. Insurance, this is the equitable transfer of a risk of a loss from one entity to another in exchange for payment. Yeah, for example, you have signed in a health insurance or you have signed in a motor insurance, whatsoever it is, you have been paying some amount of a money in your insurance, in your insurance company. As you pay, you will be equitably compensated for the amount of money that you have been paying the company. Then let's differentiate between insurer and insured. When you talk about the insured, this is the person buying from the company. Then the insurer, it is the company selling the insurance. Yeah, when you read about this second point in the key terms, you'll understand it good. Let's talk about the risk. Risk can be defined as the uncertainty of a financial loss. Yeah, you don't intend it; it just comes uncertainly. You lose some amount of money. Peril can be defined as the cause of a loss. For example, fire. What happens? Look at what happened to those of Sudan, those of Gaza. What happened to them? For example, a bomb came whatsoever, a cause of a loss. For example, fire. It can be a bomb. It can be whatsoever, a heavy storm whatsoever. So those causes of a loss, those can be defined as a peril. Then when we talk about a hazard, a condition that may increase or decrease the chances of a loss. For example, poorly stored fuel creates a condition of fire. When you are, for example, selling your diesel or you're selling a petrol on the roadside, what happens is that when you leave it just poorly stored, it is not well covered. Someone can come with a cigarette, can accidentally throw it in your petrol. What happens? It can easily destroy all your goods that you have been storing there. So it's a condition that can increase a chance of a loss. That is called a hazard. When you talk about a loss, an intentional decline in or disappearance of a value arising from a contingency. Yeah. Loss itself in English says so, an intentional decline. Yeah, a disappearance of value arising from a contingency. Well understood. So if you have some questions, guys, feel free to ask. Let's talk about a claim. A formal request to an insurance company by the injured party asking for payment based on the terms and conditions of the insurance policy when the insured risk occurs. Yeah, for example, you have signed in the insurance company and you have incurred a loss in your life. What happens is that I'm going to write down with the pain I have incurred this and this and this loss. I need to be compensated. So you write it down. So what you have written down and you're going to give it to the company, it is what is referred to as a claim. Let's talk about a premium. Premium in English simply means money. What money? An amount of money charged by the insurer in exchange for the insurance service. Yeah, I go to the buyer, how much is tomato? Is this so? The amount of the money charged by the seller, it is what is called a premium in insurance. Let's talk about the policy. A policy is a legal document that contains the terms and conditions of an insurance contract between the insurer and the insured. Yeah, legal that contains the terms and conditions. For example, I've gone to a school. I'm going to Chinawa High Kawempe. I want to be a student there. They give me admission form. After the admission form, what do they give me? The terms and conditions. That is the school rules and regulation. I need to sign to it. So to this, we have the policies that you need to sign. When you're done signing the policy, it means that you have been binded legally in the rules and regulations of that company. Anything outside the rules, it is not going to be payable or compensated to it. Let's talk about the ensure or anything that you have broken the rule, then you're not going to be also given any interest. Let's talk about assurance. Assurance, this is a term that is used in life insurance to reflect the fact that the peril insured against will take place sooner or later. Yeah, we'll talk about more about that. But assurance, you should just know it is life insurance or insurance. And then let's talk about assignment. Assignment, this means the transfer of ownerships and rights enshrined in an insurance policy from one person to another. Yeah, you have been transferred ownerships from one entity to another or from one contingency to another. A material fact, these are facts which would influence the judgment of a prudent underwriter in deciding whether or not to accept a risk. Yeah, so that is well understandable. So, guys, thank you for that. Let's understand the history of insurance. This is one of the most interesting. In the history of insurance, we're going to talk about how traditional insurance developed into modern insurance, then how modern insurance came to Uganda. All in all this introduction to the insurance, all this coming up with the idea of insurance was mainly to create a pool of homologous risks, homologous fund to the risks or amount of money to the risk. In the overview of the history of insurance, we talked about that various schools of thoughts came up to think that, came up to give a point of view that the reason why insurance was formed, it is in order to create a pool of fund to pay for the losses of the unlucky few. And we should know that the oldest form of insurance is the marine insurance. In the history of modern insurance, we have got the types of economy. In the types of economy, there are two: natural and monetary, or non monetary and monetary. Those are the two types of economy. In which this modern insurance, they are dealers in agreement of a mutual aid. For example, my house plus a neighbor's house. Yeah. So when you look at that mutual aid, mutual in English, it means benefit, both benefit in it. You benefit, they benefit. So it's for mutual aid. When did these things came up? The modern insurance mainly developed during the Industrial Revolution period. During the Industrial Revolution period, insurance became sophisticated in the Enlightenment era in Europe. It was, for example, in this London 17th century. Yeah, so that is about it. Let's talk about some good example. In the marine insurance, for example, marine insurance. During the maritime, that is a 3000 BC, merchants suffered losses, basically involving robbery of goods and ransoms. The solution to this they came up was to create a pool of funds to draw from to pay for the losses of the unlucky few. For example, also the goods in two ships. The second solution was to put goods in two ships or more. Why? Because, for example, they used to transfer their goods in one ship to another. What happens if there is a piracy? All the goods are going to go to losses. And secondly, what happens when the ship goes down in water? The water will, spoil all the goods and you'll be in losses. So they came up with this second solution of the goods being in two ships or more ships, in order if any unlucky or uncertainty happens in this ship, they will have that opportunity to have other goods safer in the other ships that are present. So let's look at how beautiful this picture looks. That is how they used to, they used to get a solution to these losses. So it's one of the beautiful things. You can see how big the goods could be. So imagine all those goods are in water, or piracy happens and they steal all those goods. So I've ever watched that movie of Pirates of the Caribbean, something like that. So when you look at it, it's something like that. So goods can be as huge as this, and then a group of people comes and they take the whole of it. So it's quite understandable and nice. We should all know that the Lloyd's of London was one of the most interesting market, you should know. It forms the largest marine insurance market in the world today because it started, it was one of the most interesting. At the first time they used to put that place as one of the meeting place when modern insurance was formed in the world. It used to be the area where they buy the insurance in sorry these people who are doing goods, the traders whatsoever, the sailors taking goods from one place could sit in order to form up the idea of insurance. They could sit up, it could be like, let me say, do I say parliament, something like that, whereby they decide from. Yeah. So let's talk about the fire insurance. Wow. Let's look at that. Fire insurance. It is one of the most interesting. In 1666, London Fire Insurance. 1666 London Fire Insurance marked the beginning of the fire insurance. The Finance Act of 1970 required insurance companies not locally incorporated to allow 47 out of 51% government and private ownership participation. Wow, that is so interesting, guys. Fire insurance is one of the interesting things you should know. Let's talk about the development of modern and current insurance in Uganda. Guys, it is now coming to Uganda. Are you together with me? In Uganda, we talk about when did it come? It came during the colonial era. Insurance companies, it came during the colonial era, yeah. The first locally owned insurance company, the East African General Insurance Company, that is the EGIN. It was cooperated in the 1946, followed by the National Insurance Corporation, that is the NIC or the NIC, in 1964. Wow. Prior to that, only agencies and branch offices of foreign insurance companies, mainly from the UK, India, and America, which numbered about 95, were in operation by the independence in 1962. Yeah, that's understandable. So nice. So let's talk about the Finance Act of 1970 that required insurance companies not locally incorporated to allow 49 out of 51% government and private ownership participation. From this, Uganda American Insurance Company Limited, Jubilee Insurance Company, British American Company Limited, and United Assurance, that was locally incorporated and wholly owned by Ugandans in 1972. Yeah. Were formed, and those were formed by what? By 1962. Yeah. So all those things that you are seeing were formed. Then, prior to that, from the mid of 1970s to the mid of 1980s, insurance experienced setbacks. As you move on with the formation of starting up a business, there must be also a setback. They all have to be there. So setbacks did happen. It was during the economic war, the internal conflicts, and the May 1987 currency reforms, among others, as you know. So, as we also should understand that there were 31 licensed insurance companies, in which 21 were non-life farms and 9 were life farms. Secondly, 32 insurance brokers also came up, and as well 2 health membership organization, HMOs. And thirdly, the 3 reinsurance brokers. Then fourth, 22 loss assurance and adjusters, and over 3,200 agents as of 2022. Yeah, that is so.